I did what everyone tells you to do with investing. I trusted the professional. I left it alone. For years later, my money barely moved. And now I'm wondering if staying patient cost me thousands. I'm 34 years old. In 2021, I rolled an old 401k into a traditional IRA with a local financial advisor. At the time, the balance was right around $50,000. The advice was simple. Don't touch it. Don't watch it. Long-term investing. So I listened. I ignored it for years, assuming time and the market were doing their thing in the background. Recently, I finally checked the account. The balance was about $54,000. For years, roughly a $5,000 increase. That's when anxiety kicked in, because during that same time period, I kept hearing about market growth, index funds, long-term averages, people my age talking about strong returns just by staying invested. And here I was, feeling like my money had been standing still. Worse than that, it felt like I'd lost something I can't get back. Time. Those are years you don't get a second chance at when it comes to compounding. I started asking myself uncomfortable questions. Was my advisor being too conservative? Was I paying fees I didn't fully understand? Was "don't worry about it" actually bad advice? Then something ironic happened. A statement came in the mail. The account had gone down again. Now the balance was just over $52,000. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about returns. It was about trust. I trusted someone else to care about my financial future as much as I should have been caring myself. I decided to act. I started the process of moving my money to Vanguard and taking a more direct role in how it's invested. Not because I suddenly want to day trade or micromanage every dollar, but because I want transparency, low fees, and control over my long-term plan. Ignoring your money isn't the same as being disciplined. Sometimes it's just being disconnected. This experience taught me that patience still requires awareness, and that no one is more responsible for your future than you are. Financial mistakes don't always come from reckless decisions. Sometimes they come from trusting too blindly and waiting too long to ask questions. There's a kid everyone labels as the bad one, the troublemaker, the lost cause. But once I stopped trying to control him, everything changed. I teach in a rough area, not the roughest place I've worked, but rough enough that kids grow up learning early how little adults expect from them. One student in particular stood out. Everyone knew his reputation. Loud, disruptive, always in trouble. And when I mentioned contacting his parent, he laughed. He told me, straight-faced, that she didn't care, as long as he wasn't in her house. And I believed him. Here's the thing, though. He wasn't actually that bad. He performed bad. He wanted an audience. He wanted attention. He wanted to look untouchable. So instead of fighting it, I changed tactics. I started walking him to class. Loudly, publicly, letting him pretend he was being dragged along while making sure he stayed right next to me. He got a saved face in front of his friends. And I got him where he needed to be. Then I noticed something else. He craved praise, but couldn't admit it. So I stopped praising him directly. I'd say things like, "Man, he can't even read," loud enough for him to hear. And suddenly he'd jump in. "I can read. Watch this." And he'd do the work. If he finished an assignment, I'd say, "You probably copied it." Next thing I knew, he was helping another student, just to prove me wrong. Contradicting me became his motivation. I put him in test prep, but told everyone he was in a different class, so he could loudly refuse to go, so he could look like he won. He hit his reading goals every single week, but skipped the celebrations. Not because he didn't care, but because he didn't want to be seen caring. He told me he only took the test because the principal was bothering us. And honestly, that was enough. Slowly, something shifted. His reading level jumped by more than a full grade. His unit test score doubled. No lectures, no punishments, no lowering expectations, just meeting him exactly where he was and refusing to give up on him. Will he pass the state test? Maybe not, but he won't be labeled a beginner anymore. And for a kid who has no fear of consequences, severe ADHD, and has learned that adults don't stick around, that matters. I finally understand what people meant when they told me to build relationships. It didn't mean being his friend. It didn't mean lowering the bar. It meant understanding who he needed to be in order to try. Sometimes leadership looks like letting yourself lose a little face, so someone else can finally win. Not every success looks clean. Not every victory looks traditional. But sometimes progress is simply proving to one kid that effort can still belong to him. I never thought I'd be asking this question, but here I am, trying to figure out how to tell my wife that I don't love her anymore. And the hardest part is realizing it didn't happen suddenly. It happened slowly while I was trying to hold everything together. I'm 32. My wife is also 32. We've been married for 7 years. Almost 3 years ago, we had our daughter. Like most new parents, we struggled at first. Sleepless nights, stress, constant adjustments. I truly believed that once we found our rhythm, things would stabilize. But instead of balancing out, everything started falling on me. Over time, I became the default parent. Night wake-ups? Me. Cooking? Me. Cleaning? Mostly me. Diapers? Me again. I work from home, so I also watched our daughter during the day. At first, when I brought it up, my wife explained it as postpartum. I understood. I was patient. I told myself this phase would pass. But months turned into a year, then 2 years, then almost 3, and nothing changed. Every conversation ended the same way. Postpartum, or denial, or me being told I was complaining because I hated her. I didn't hate her. I was exhausted. What hurt the most wasn't just the workload. It was the lack of effort. Our intimacy disappeared. Affection became something I had to beg for. Household responsibilities were avoided, but going out with friends or running errands somehow always had energy behind it. And then came the moment that changed everything. She was leaving town to visit sick family. I encouraged her to go. I stayed home with our daughter while working. That morning, before she left, she didn't spend time with our child. She sat and watched TV instead. I don't know how else to describe it, but something in me shut down. The person I married felt gone, and not replaced with someone struggling, but with someone disengaged. I know I'm not perfect. I never expected perfection from her either. All I wanted was effort, honesty, partnership, to be imperfect together. But I feel overworked, underappreciated, and emotionally alone in my own marriage. And now I'm facing a truth I never wanted to face. I don't know if she's capable or willing to see herself honestly. And if that's the case, loving her has turned into surviving her. Maybe the most painful honesty isn't admitting I'm unhappy. It's admitting that staying has already cost me the love I once had. Some marriages don't end with betrayal or explosions. They end quietly, when one person carries too much for too long, and eventually there's nothing left to give.